This is officially day 2 of creating bullshit as often as possible. And here's the thing, I keep saying the term bullshit, right? And I think I should probably clarify. When I say bullshit, I just mean like I'm creating content with as little effort as possible, and I'm just kind of going with the flow. There's no outline, there's no prep. I'm not doing the Batman thing this morning. But I want to get into something really, really important. I'm gonna tell you a quick little story. When I was studying English creative writing, we used to be assigned a task, like write a short story about XYZ. You'd go home, you'd write the short story, you'd print out as many copies as you could that would fit the amount of people. So I had 22 people in a class. I'd print out 22 copies of that, manuscript, short story, poetry, prose, whatever. And I'd go to class and we would sit in the middle of the class in a circle, and then the class would have read it and then come back to the next class, and then you sit in a circle and they essentially give their feedback of your work. You are not allowed to talk while you're getting feedback, not until the end. And they're also not allowed to speak to you by name. Like they can't say Alex's project. No, they got to be like the author's project, right? And so that introduced me to a world that like I understood the importance of feedback so early. Like the chances are people there I'm not saying this is universal, but there are a lot of people who have a lot of struggles and a lot of problems in their life. And one of the reasons that you might always, the pattern you find in people like that is they suck at taking feedback. We're not going to get into that. But what I want to say, from an internet standpoint, you have to realize that feedback is part of the game. If you're running from the feedback, you're running from the game. It's like wanting to rush for 2,000 yards, but you're afraid to get tackled. Like it's just not going to work like that, baby. You get what I'm saying? Like it's literally part of the game. We post this content to the internet, and we put it on these stages in front of audiences and people who have the right to react. That's what we're all here for. You shouldn't run from it. You shouldn't be afraid of the feedback. I got feedback that I shouldn't be holding the mic. And it's like, yeah, for sure. But like, okay. Like I can either choose to change the behavior or I can choose not to. And that's just part of the choices you can make after you receive feedback. What was always interesting to me about those classes, and I took multiple, I took poetry 1, poetry 2, I took fiction, nonfiction, and then we took a memoir class. And one of the things that always struck me about those classes was there was always the one, right? And the one in those classes is the person who always has the harshest criticism, right? Always, hand is always up first. Like there was this one kid, he kind of reminded me of like McLovin. He was like that kind of build, wore glasses, kind of pale skin like that. And he'd always be, he talked like a little bit of, he had that little thing in the back of his like wisdom teeth whenever he talked. So he'd always like, they'd be like, all right, so let's see who has feedback. Well, and he'd go first and he'd be like, well, I just don't understand the Black experience. Maybe and he would just talk. And like, after probably like 3 people went, I started realizing maybe this kid is maybe he's just always first in line for commentary. And then I remember one day I did a poem, and my poem was, I wasn't that great in school, and I was more of a spoken word, poet at the time versus like writing sonnets and all of that stuff, right? And so I was like, okay, I can't wait for the day when his project comes like forward. When it's his time. I really want to read his work. Like he has a lot of really good, maybe not always good, but he has a lot of feedback. And the day that he went, The day that he went, I probably first discovered the worst piece of fucking trash I've ever read in my life. Right? And that there's a huge takeaway from this, which is that oftentimes the people who have the strongest criticism, the people who run first to comment negatives, look at your comment section. The people who comment negatively first have the less followers, have no profile picture, they have no content, they have nothing to contribute. That's the game of feedback. If you're running from feedback in this content creation game, you are running from people who create nothing. They have nothing. You are running from people who are always going to have feedback for the person in the middle of the circle, but have nothing to ever be in the middle of the circle. And that's why you can't run from feedback. Feedback is so important. I know he's insane now, but there is a reason why we all appreciate the old Kanye. And Kanye, for me, used to say something that, like, my mind used to really be like, I mean, maybe it's just him saying that, right? And one thing that I've always appreciated about Kanye as an artist is, like, he kind of gave us a soundtrack and gave us words that at 16, 17, 14 years old, I didn't have the words to be able to say those kinds of things. But one of the things Kanye says is that everybody got something to say about Ye, but at least they saying something. Kanye has always kind of functioned on this idea that, like, essentially by the logic that he says in that line, that the worst thing that can happen to you as an artist is that no one has feedback. No one feels anything from your work. So you put those two things in line, is like the worst thing that can happen to you is that people feel nothing, right? Or what you think might be the worst thing is that people pick on you and they say things about you and stuff like that. And it's like, well, this is all the things that happen. This is all of that comes with being someone who is, again, finding that your life is worth documenting and then being brave enough to post it. Don't let the feedback take you out the game, man. Don't let that happen. I know, there's a lot to be concerned about, like doxing and people who start to send you death threats. Internet's not really a safe place for people like us. I'm just speaking truthfully, right? But at the end of the day, if I get feedback that my room was messy, I knew it was messy. I cleaned up, so it looks a little better. Still got a couple things I got to put away, but I cleaned up. It's feedback. Whether it's feedback in the comments, I do hate the people that, like, they wait till they see you to give you feedback, and you be like, damn, bro, was that comment button broke on your end? That's really good commentary that could have been in the comment section, but whatever. The feedback is crucial, but the feedback it's not everything. And for the people who say things like, I am my harshest critic, okay, that's fair. That's fair. Don't let the harshest critic get in your way. Because whether the harshest critic is on the outside of the circle or if the harshest critic is you, the shit got to get created. The shit got to get done. So that's my bullshit for the day. Maybe I will stop holding the microphone. I don't know. This feels very like social media. You know what I mean? Like people should be very social media. And then like right here feels like I'm on a Netflix documentary. And then maybe I should put this on the end of a spatula. I see people do that. I don't know. I had a microphone like case thingy. I'm gonna find that and we gonna make it work. But yeah. Do you want to run for 2,000 yards? You're gonna have to take some hits.